Alright guys, lesson 1.3b. It's been a while since we made a video, but it's still Mr. Lynch coming back at you guys with some great math here. So, as always guys, make sure you hit like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you guys ring that notification bell so you guys can see these videos as soon as they come out. Alright, so what we're doing here is we're looking at percent and fraction problems into numeric equations, or expressions, sorry. Now, this is some great stuff. This is honestly some of my favorites to teach. So let's look at this. Pedro had $600 in his savings account, and then 5 years later, he had $800. That's great increase. So thankfully for this first part, they gave us boxes to tell us how much we're going to put in each. So if we have $600 going into 3 boxes, 600 divided by 3 gets us 200. So we have 200 in each box. I'm going to write these all in here. Okay, so now our fractional increase, our fractional change. What we're going to do for this is we're going to take how many we increased and put it in the numerator. So we increased by 1, we added 1 box right here. And then we're going to divide it by our original amount. So we had 1, 2, 3 boxes. So our increase, our fraction change is 1/3. Now, percent change, we need to convert this fraction to a decimal, or to a percent. So we're going to take 1 divided by 3. Well, that doesn't go in, so we're going to put a decimal here. 0, that goes in 3 times, which gives us 9. Subtract 1, and it's just going to keep repeating here. So we take this decimal, 0.3333, multiply that by 100, and we're going to get 33.33% increase. This is cool stuff, right, guys? This is just some amazing, awesome stuff. So now our fractional portion of the original. This is some really cool stuff here, guys. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take our original amount. So originally we had 3 out of our 3 original. And we're adding on 1 new one to our 3 original. If we add these fractions together, we're going to get 3 plus 1 divided by 3. So what we're really doing here is we're taking our original amount. I'm going to do this in a different color. I'll do this in blue. We're taking our original amount, adding on our new amount, adding on our increase, and putting it all over the amount we had before, which gives us 4/3 as our fractional portion. And you guys can see that. There are 4 boxes down here compared to our original 3. Now, the percent of the original, we're going to take 100%, because that's how much we started with. And we're going to add 33.33%. We're adding our increase, our percent change, because we're increasing, which gives us 133.33% of the original. That's just awesome, isn't it, guys? I mean, this is just some really cool stuff. This is like some of my favorite stuff to teach, honestly. So now moving down to problem 3. It used to take us 10 minutes to walk to school, and now it only takes us 8. So we're taking 10 minutes, putting it into 5 boxes. So I'm going to say that's 2. 2 in each box. Now, there is another way we can do this. I'm going to show you guys that other way. So to find our fractional change, what we're going to do is we're going to take how many we decreased by. So we decreased by 2. So we're going to take 10 minus 8, see how much we decreased. Well, that gives us 2. Now we're going to take 2 and divide by our original amount of 10. We simplify this fraction and we get 1/5. And then if we look at it the other way like we did before, we had 5 boxes originally, and we decreased it by 1. So our fraction change is still 1/5. You guys think about it either way, whichever way helps you the most. So now, dividing 1 by 5 is going to get us 0.2, which is 20%. And guys, if I'm going a little fast for you, please go watch the live recordings, and we took these so much slower. Okay, so now our fractional portion of the original. All right, we're going to take how much we ended with. So we ended with 8 minutes. This right here is 8 minutes. And we're going to divide it by our original amount of 10 minutes. Well, that, if we simplify it, because they're both even, gives us 4/5. So we have 4/5 of the original amount. Looking at it the other way, we start off with 5 boxes, and we end with 4. So we're at that 4/5 again. Now, because we decreased, looking at our percent of the original, we're going to take 100%, and we're going to subtract. Remember, guys, if we decrease, we're going to subtract that amount. We're going to subtract this 20%, which gives us a percent of 80% of the original is still left. And the other way you guys could do that is basically convert 4/5 into a percent. So Mario's old car got 20 miles to the gallon, and his new car gets 24. This is great stuff. So because of this, I'm going to show you guys both ways. Now, I'm going to draw out my boxes, of course. But first, I need to find the largest number that has 20 and 24 as a multiple. And I'm going to say that's 4. Because 20 is 4 times 5, and 24 is 4 times 6. So I'm going to draw out my boxes. On the top, I'm going to draw 5 boxes. And on the bottom, I'm going to draw out 6. There we go, 6 boxes. Now in each one of these, I'm going to put a 4 into it. Right, because this adds up to 20 and the bottom adds up to 24. Now we need to look at our fraction change. So I'm going to do this both ways. 24 minus 20 gives us 4. So 4 divided by 20 gives us, well, would you look at that? It's 1/5 again. Now the other way to look at this is we have 5 original boxes and we're adding 1 more. So again, we should have 1/5. The really cool thing about these guys is that it's always our increase amount, or actually I should write that as change, because it doesn't matter if it's increase or decrease. It's always our change divided by the original amount. So now we know what the percent is. This is 20%. We just did this in our previous problem. But here's the thing, guys. It's a little bit different. Down here, it's an increase, not a decrease. So if we look at this, we're going to have 24. Oops, don't know why I wrote a 4 there first. 24 divided by 20. And if we pull those 4s out, we're going to get 6/5. Now, the other way to think about this is if we had those 5 original boxes, we now have 6. Or we have 1 and 1/5, that someone brought up in class. We're adding 1/5 onto that original amount. But it's much better if you write it out this way. I want you guys to write it out this way, okay? You guys can think about it as 1 and 1/5, but this is the way I want you to write it out. So now instead of subtracting 20% like we did before, we're going to add 20% because it's an increase. This gets us 120%. Now guys, go ahead and watch the video. I'm going to skip down here to the pair of running shoes. So if they were originally $75, $75 for running shoes seems like a lot. But, I mean, really, that's normal price of shoes. $75, and they're on sale for $50. This is a steal right here, guys. You need to go buy these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to break it down into the largest multiple, or the largest number that has both of these as a multiple, which is 25. 75 is equal to 25 times 3, and 50 is 25 times 2. So now if I draw my boxes, I'm going to draw that like that, and I'm going to draw this down here like this. Cut this in half, that like that. Perfect. So now, oops, I put that box on the wrong part. So now we're going to put 25 in each of these. So this top adds up to 75, and the bottom adds up to 50. So now our fractional change, well, that's going to be simple. How many did we change by? Well, we changed by 1, and originally we had 3. And again, we've done this problem before. We know that's 33.33%. But here's the thing, guys. Last time it was an increase. This time, it's a decrease. So we're going to take our, and I'll show you guys both ways. We're going to take our 50 and divide by 75. Because remember, it's new divided by the original, or our change divided by our original, okay? Which gives us 2/3. And now the other way to look at this is at the end, we have 2. But to start out with, we have 3, so we have 2/3 of the original amount. Now, percent-wise, we're going to take 100% and subtract 33.33%. Well, that's easy. That gets us 66.67%. And we're good to go. So, guys, I'm going to do a select few problems over here. I'm going to do the 2 that they gave me, and I'm going to do 1 more. So what we're looking at here is we're making this into numbers, all right? We're not just looking at fractions anymore. We're looking at what's called an expression, all right? And an expression is something that, an expression's not too hard to define, but I'm honestly at a loss for words right now, and I don't know why. So an expression is really something that shows you we can plug in a value for each of these, okay? And it gives us our total amount. We can plug whatever we want to into these. But in this case, it's very specific things. So Pedro had $600 in his savings account, and 5 years later, he had $800. So as you guys can see, we're going to have 1 of 600, right? Because we already have that 600. And now we're adding our fraction change. If we look back up at 2b, our fraction change here was 1/3. So now when we add these together, we're going to get 600 times 4/3, our fraction of the whole, which gives us 800. Now our percent change, we had 100% and then 33.3. So down here we have 100, or, wow, sorry, not 33.33. Sorry guys, we're looking at decimal, not percents here. So down here, we're going to have 1.33. So we're just taking that information we had up in the last part and applying it down here. So again, we're going to have 10 times 1, because we had that original 10, and we're subtracting our fractional change, which was 1/5. Which means we're going to have 1 minus 1/5. That gives us 4/5. So 10 times 4/5 gets us 8. Now again, let's look at percent-wise. We're going to have 1 minus 10 times 0.2. Which means if we put these together, we're going to have 10 times 0.8, which gets us 8. Now I'm going to do the Caster's old dishwasher. We did this one in class. So let's look at this. We're going to have 12. I know that. Parentheses, minus, because we're decreasing. We're going from 12 down to 8. So we're subtracting 10 times something else. Well, that's going to equal 12 times a specific thing, which equals 8. So now let's fill this in. We know it's going to be 12 times 1 to begin with, because we had 12 to start. And now our decrease is going to be 4/12, which is 1/3. Right? Because if we look at this, 12 minus 8, this gives us our change of 4 gallons. And 4 divided by 12 gets us 1/3. So 1 minus 1/3 gets us 2/3. So we are left with 12 times 2/3, which gives us 8. Now over here, looking at the percents, we're going to set up the same way. We're going to have 12 times some number minus 12 times some other number is equal to 12 times something else, which equals 8. So we know it's going to be 12 times 1 to begin with, because we have that 12 originally. That 1 just means we have the 12 in the beginning. Okay? And this next part, so this is what we have originally. This is our decrease. So we're decreasing by 1/3, which is 0.33. Now 1 minus 0.33 gets us 0.67. That is a 7, not a 2. Which gets us 8 if we multiply this on through. So guys, I'm going to do 2 more problems with you, and that'll be it for this video. So let's look at the homework section. I'm going to do problems 1 and 3. All right? 1 and 3. These are the ones we're going to be doing in this video. So at the beginning of the year, there were 32 students in Miss Herrera's class. There are now 36 students in her class. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this. And we're going to say, all right, let's draw this out. Now, I don't know how many boxes I'm going to need, but I know this second box, is going to be a little bit shorter. All right? So let's figure out how many go in each box. What number multiplies to get us 32 as well as 36? I'm going to say that's 4. Because 32 is 4 times 8, and 36 is 4 times 9. Now, I'm not very good at drawing ninths, guys, at all. Like, at all. They are, like, my worst enemy when it comes to drawing. But I'll try. I'll do my best. So eighths are relatively easy. We're going to cut it in half to make halves. We're going to cut it in half again to make fourths. Actually, we needed to cut this into... I gotta think, we need 4 on each side. So yeah, we'll cut it in half again. There we go. Now we've got eighths. So now I'm going to cut each of these in the same place down here. And each of these is worth 4. So our fractional change here, guys, how many more blocks do we have in the bottom? Well, we have 1 more in the bottom out of our original 8. Another way to think about it is going to be 36 minus 32, which gives us 4. So we're going to have 4 divided by 32. Well, we just figured that out. That gives us 8. So we're left with 1/8. Now our percent change here is a little bit tricky. All right. We know that 1/4 is 25%. So 1/8 being half of that is 12.5%. Okay, guys? So that's our percent change there. Now our fraction of the whole, well, how many do we start out with? We start out with 8. We end with 9. So our fraction of the whole is 9/8. The other way to think about this is 36, how many we end with, divided by our starting amount of 32. And we already figured out we can pull a 4 out of each of those. So we're going to be left with 9 divided by 8, or 9/8. Percent, we're going to take 100%, add our increase of 12.5%, and we're going to get 112.5% of the original. Isn't this just so cool, guys? Like, doesn't this just really get you guys excited about math? I know it gets me excited about math. So, Celesta used to spend 90 minutes a day on the phone. She now spends 60 minutes. So her screen time from Apple is telling her she went down from 90 minutes to 60 minutes. Can't stand that screen time thing. It says I spend like way too much time on my phone. So, let's draw out our boxes. We're going to start with a longer box because we're decreasing here. So now, what's the largest number that has 90 and 60 as multiples? Well, that's easy. That's 30. 90 is 3 times 30, and 60 is 2 times 30. So down here, I'm just going to cut this in half. Up here, I'm going to cut this in thirds. And we have 30 in each one of these. So now our fractional change, how many do we start with? We started with 3. How many do we decrease by? We decrease by 1, so we're left with 1/3. Or we could take how many we're missing, so the difference here, which is 30. We're going to take 30 and divide it by 90. Well, we just said 90 was 3 times 30, so this gets us 1/3 as well. Our percent change, we've done this one a million times, 33.33%. And now because it's a decrease, I'm going to start with my percent. 100% minus 33.33% gets us 66.67%. And remember, we're subtracting because it's decreasing. If it were increasing, we would add. So now our fraction of the original amount. How many do we start with? Well, we start with 3. How many do we end with? We end with 2. The other way to think about this, we start off with 3, and we subtract our change, which is 1. So now we have 3 minus 1 divided by 3, which gets us 2 divided by 3. Or 2/3. Alright guys, that is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always guys, hit like, hit subscribe, ring that notification bell so you guys can see these videos as soon as they come out. As always guys, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you guys in class.